So on today's video, there's going to be a lot of dialogue over pictures of me going through the journey of figuring out why my 99 Jeep is crank no starting. It probably was over the course of a month. In fact, looking at the first two pictures that just rolled, I should have known what the problem was at the beginning of my journey figuring it out. This little clip is a spot where I was off-roading, and actually after I got on the road again, right up at the bottom of this hill that you see, I made a right-hand turn, and about 10 seconds down the road, the Jeep just turned off. And it really hadn't been doing this for months. 6 months before this video was shot, I actually had swapped out the crankshaft position sensor. So I thought it was good leading into this. But as it started crank no starting again, I started going through the ignition system, as you can see in these pictures of the coil pickup and the distributor. But then I started noticing wiring problems. As such, you see on the coil pickup, or the camshaft position sensor as it may be called, you see this wiring going into the plug beginning to fail. And then on this next video, it actually has some dialogue in it. I'll let myself take the lead on that one from the video's perspective of some grounds failing.
So these wires came off of my, those two bolts down there that stick out from the main coil. They're a little scabbed off and were melting together and probably causing problems. But I'm just curious, are these grounds? And are they two separate sets of grounds, even though they ground to the same point essentially? And do I need to worry about keeping them separate, or can I put them all in one lug together and solder that in? Asking for a friend.
I originally sent that video to a friend that parts out Cherokees and works on them a lot, and he confirmed that they were grounds. So I stripped them back to where there was no corrosion and then twisted them together, melted solder in a ring terminal, and shoved them all into that one ring terminal, as you can see. Then I moved on to wiring the coil pickup straight to itself, or to its wiring, rather than having the plug. Because one, the plug is extremely expensive to find brand new to reuse. I later actually found one at a pick and pull and cut it out where I could wire in a new one. But then I found out that the coil pickup sensor is like $90 new. So once I get some extra money, I'm probably going to solder those. I'm going to solder the plug that I found at the pick and pull to the coil pickup wires and put a plug back in there with a brand new coil pickup. Let's move on to what ended up finally making me really have to dig into this. And it was this video of me just cranking, and you don't see any RPMs, nothing, and the Jeep just sits there and will not start. I first wanted to confirm that the notorious pump failure was not my issue, and initially I thought that this drastic fluctuation, in my mind, 12 psi, you just saw it went above 50 and all the way below 40 at the beginning of this last clip. I thought that maybe the pump was starting to fail, and I wanted to find out if it was doing it when it stalled out, because I figured out that the Jeep could run for about 5 minutes and then it would stall. Go ahead. So now that I knew that it was a spark problem, I started going to each individual sensor and the main pickup coil and confirming what problem I had. And this is showing the voltage at the main coil pickup's plug, showing nothing sizable coming to it as soon as it would go to no crank, no start. So I quickly eliminated that as being the problem. So next, you want to determine if the crankshaft position sensor or camshaft position sensor or computer is bad. And on both of the sensors, you have a 5-volt reference coming to one of the prongs. You have a ground, and then you have the data line that is getting the pulse from each of these two sensors, telling it to align the spark to the crank's ultimate position and how fast the crank is going. So to test that, you see if you have 5-volt reference at each plug, and that will tell you pretty quick if you have computer problems. If you don't have 5-volt, you have two options. Either your wire is broke or you're having computer problems. And I had 5-volt at both of my plugs, and the grounds went to ground when I ohm tested them for continuity, and then the data lines both seemed like they were in good condition. So ultimately, I ohm tested the crankshaft position sensor, and this next video is me explaining what I found when I pulled the crankshaft position sensor off of my Jeep.
So I've been having crankshaft position sensor problems. 6 months ago, I took off the original, which I'm not sure which one's the original anymore, but I took off the original and put another OEM one on, and it worked great all winter. And then I had the exact same problem come back here as soon as it got warm again, and I thought it was kind of weird that I had the exact same problem, but one of these fixed it for at least the time being. So I'm going to show you the resistance. Online, they show that you're supposed to test the B, which is this center one regardless, and then the C connector. But the diagram they show, it shows a little like tab like this above my nail there, showing as the top. But really, there's a tab up here where it buckles in as well. So which one's truly the top? Well, I think from research that the top is this side, the buckle side. So if you put your black on C and you put your red on B and do that, you get 536 ohms, which is above what it needs to be. So let's go to my second bad one. Here's number 2 bad. Let's put the black where he belongs, red where he belongs. 500, 700 there for a second. Maybe that was because I lost connection on the test here. 500, not good. According to Bleeping Jeep, at least, it's not good. It's supposed to be between 100 and 250. So here's a new one from O'Reilly. Lifetime warranty, standard brand. Part number is PC 308. Let's check its B and C connector for the correct ohm load. And what do we get? 150. So that tells me that I have potentially 2 bad ones that are OEM ones, and then hopefully this new one goes on there and fixes my problems, at least for now. So what I'm thinking, if you've done one of these before, it's not that hard of a job, especially if you have a helping hand up on the motor side and the engine is not hot. If you've never done it before, it's a daunting task the first time you do it, getting one of these guys off. But what I'm thinking, they say that these new ones at parts stores are kind of crappy. I'm thinking, you know, after doing it a couple times, I believe I could do it and just run this one until it gives me problems. And I might buy a second one and leave it in my toolbox that's in my Jeep at all times. That way I can find a way home. And I can then go return this one and have a good spare one again in my toolbox. So I'm gonna try it. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I take it off again? I mean, really, if you've done this job before, it's nothing to do it again. You know, it's 10 minutes of time and a helping hand, and you can do it. So we're gonna try putting this guy on, and I'll let you know. But I literally went down the rabbit hole of losing spark, losing fuel pressure, and I went to the extent that I used my dad's fuel pressure gauge, and I found that it had fluttering idle, but then when you revved it up, it would go to just fine pressure. Then I bought this guy to be a permanent solution to check my fuel pressure. I primed it up probably about 10 minutes ago and we're down to 19 PSI. Not great. Let's go ahead and just prime it again and see what happens. I haven't even started the Jeep yet. Let's do it again. Let's see what kind of fuel pressure we have at the rail. 42, 44, somewhere right in there, 43 maybe. Starting to rain. Great. I still don't have the new crankshaft position sensor on there, but my dad's supposed to be here soon to help me. My Jeep's at a friend's house because I was trying to get it to my parents and it died halfway there, and I didn't feel like struggling with it anymore. These things are great, but this is the first time mine has ever left me, I guess, truly stranded somewhere. But nonetheless, you can see it's already dropping down below 40. Some people told me that's a concern, that it's going somewhere. My pump has 220,000 miles on it, so the fact that it holds pressure for 5-10 minutes is okay in my book. I probably need to determine if it's the fuel rail or if it's bleeding back into the tank itself. But I'm gonna wait until my pump tells me it's truly dead before I replace it. So I know that might leave me stranded somewhere else, but hopefully it gives me symptoms and I can figure out, now that I have this guy, what's actually going wrong when it's starting to go wrong. So I've also heard about doing a ZJ 24-gallon tank upgrade, and I might do that here in the future. When I have to swap the pump, I might go ahead and go for that, because I take this thing on a lot of long journeys and it would just be worth, you know, having that bigger tank on here. Because the Cherokee Diablo, as I call it, or Briquette, she likes having long legs and going places. So especially now that we're going camping a lot, I want to take it camping and go hit the trails that are near our RV camping sites. So, well, I hope this helps. I'll throw in some small videos of when I was testing the Jeep with the gauge and all that to show you what kind of fluttering idle I had, and then when it would rev up, what kind of pressure I would have at rev. Probably about 2K, 3K RPMs. So anyways, I'll talk to you later. God bless you guys. Your friend St. Chris out. She's alive. She's alive. She's alive.